Hi, Jeff. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Tia. Thank you for having me. Looking
Of
forward to our
course.
chat.
Yes, yes. So I know and the world knows how challenging it's been for the hospitality industry, the event industry, the groups industry, travel, of course. And when we were just talking earlier before we hit record, you were talking about being in this place of rebuilding and also the bridge year. So can you talk about how during this time of rebuild, but there's still a lot of uncertainty, how you are motivating the team and having them excited, and you said focusing on opportunities versus all the challenges.
Right. Wow, there's a lot packed into that question, Tia. So let me see how I can do. You're right. I think everybody is aware of the impact the pandemic has had on hospitality. And then specifically, Noland is focused in groups and events. The good news is we believe from an industry standpoint, and well as my company, we have the survival phase well behind us. And we're now in 2022, which is being referred to as a bit of a bridge year. And we are in recovery phase, and customer segments, markets are coming back differently. But I think overall, even despite all of the uncertainty that still remains, there is this general sense of optimism. Hospitality industry as a whole has been through many cycles, ups and downs, and has proven its resiliency. And this is well, it's different. It's still, the industry is coming back. So the focus with the team has really been focus on the art of the possible and coming to work, coming to your job with a positive attitude. With the level of uncertainty, I like to remind my team, with great uncertainty comes great opportunities. And you need to really focus on those opportunities. And our job at Noland is really to help our customers along the recovery cycle. Help them to learn how group is coming back differently, and how to possibly, whether we say fish differently or sell differently, using our data set to really help the hotels rebuild and retool. And the fact that we are part of that rebuild process, I think that in of itself, with that focus, brings a sense of optimism, excitement, a sense of purpose within the team. But we are very much, in the recovery cycle, and I think the industry itself is generally optimistic on how things will return. And depending on, which industry analyst you speak with, our personal view on full recovery for groups and events will be sometime next year. But we are seeing a very strong return of demand, which is very encouraging for us and helps along the way.
Right. Yeah. So I know that you recently joined, so I think you said 8 or 9 months ago, coming on as CEO of this company. And a big focus of yours has really been, alignment. Can you talk a little bit? You were sharing a story that I think is really valuable about your mission, your vision, your values, and really bringing people together around that, which I think, also contributes to what you're saying about purpose, and then also having a positive attitude.
Right. Yeah. Coming in, and I've been reminded by my leadership team, I can no longer say I'm the new person. And now that I'm approaching 9 months, I have to, I guess, start taking ownership for something.
Yeah.
But one of the first things, coming in, and I think it is very important for any leader, regardless of your position, is to apply empathy and to spend more time listening. And I know, it's often said, but it's something I firmly believe. You need to listen to understand, not to respond. So spending the first few months really taking the time to listen to our colleagues, engage with our colleagues, engage with our customers to understand where they are, what concerns they had, what challenges they had, And what started to become apparent is recognizing the team went through such a rough period of time during the pandemic stage, and not only during being in pandemic, being in hospitality, being in group sales and events, but also tragically losing the CEO, who was a very dear friend of mine, who passed away due to COVID. The team clearly was in a bit of a state of despair and lacking necessarily the idea or the vision on where we needed to go as a company. So while I didn't start immediately with the intent to do a mission and vision, and felt that trying to do that too early without taking the time to understand where the company was, where our people were, would have been not smart, candidly. And we, 6 months in, we came together as a leadership team with input from our colleagues to create our mission statement, who we are, our vision statement, where we see ourselves going, and our North Star, and then putting our value statements together on how we need to show up at work, how we need to show up for one another, as well as show up for our customers. So we took the time to formalize that and to do a formal launch at a town hall meeting not too long ago. And in addition to that, because we are in this recovery phase, we thought it was important to take it that one step further and to create a theme for the year. And our theme for the year is called Be the Spark. And looking at ways to spark opportunities, to be the spark for someone else. Part of what we're trying to do is help our hotels gain insight into where they can find new business. So how do we spark opportunity for our customers? So our theme for this year in this recovery phase is all built around Be the Spark. And then in addition to that, we have three simple goals and objectives for the year and what we need to do for the year as a company. So by taking the time to define who we are, how we should act, where we want to be, and what our focus will be for this year, really provided a opportunity to pull the team together with common goals, common objectives. And not only was the team battling or coming through very difficult times, the majority of the team is remote as well. So I think having that as our centering, and then this isn't about just doing a one-time presentation. We are now weaving this throughout all of our meetings, how we interact with each other, and creating special recognitions for people who are sparking, if you would. So exciting times. Part of it, people can say it's motherhood and apple pie, but honestly, it's important, and it brings focus and that commonality, that common vision. And being a team as small as we are, we need to ensure we're all moving in that same direction.
Yes, yes. So the world of work and how we work has changed so much and continues to change. Can you talk about, because you said the majority of your team is remote, can you talk about how you and the leadership team, not just you, of course, but just your company as a whole, keeps people connected, has people feel like they belong, that they're not, an island alone and, only get emails from people, or, can you talk about that? Because I know that I get asked that question a lot from executives that I work with on having their team happier, but, having people happy while everyone's in different locations.
We haven't quite figured it out yet, and this is an area that I think will continue to evolve. We rely obviously very heavily on the video connection, and it's a delicate balance that we love to see people on video, but we know having people on video provides a certain level of stress, or people either Zoom fatigue or the feel that they always need to be on. But one of the reasons I ask my leaders when we do one-on-ones and even group meetings, is to ensure there's a period of time where you can actually look at an individual. It gives the opportunity for that added sense of connection, to ensure that people are present and are actively engaged. But also it gives us an opportunity as leaders to check in with our people and see how they are actually doing.
Yeah.
So that's one part of it. We, take the opportunity with team meetings, and this is part of core to our values, is take the time to recognize in moments of gratitude, and to not only have it from the leaders, but to give individuals the opportunity to recognize members of their team for what they have contributed and how they helped them in delivering or doing some element of work. So really engaging, less of phone conversations and more, utilization of the tools that are available. We also have very strong chat channels within the organization that we engage, the leadership team engages as well. From me doing a simple end of week check-in, providing just information, which also includes shout outs, talking about what's on people's mind, what is the impact that the fuel crisis, the food fuel prices are going to have on travel, but just a way to ensure that you're keeping that constant level of engagement and using the technology the best way you can. We are going to be in a hybrid work environment forever. And we're still looking for that best solution to get that engagement along the way. But I don't have necessarily the perfect answer, but it's just
that was a lot. Yeah, it's very intentional. I think the recognition that yes, people have Zoom fatigue and don't always be on, but you don't need to have them on video all the time, but having, like you said, seeing that face to face. I mean, if you and I weren't on video, this conversation would be less connecting, because I feel like even though we're not in the same room, that I am speaking versus just phones. So and the positive specific recognition, not just from the leaders, but also peer to peer, is super valuable and drives happiness, while working as well. So
we actually, along those lines, Tia, something we did, which our head of human resources brought forward, which is a small gesture, but it has gone a long way in bringing our team more closely aligned and together. And it's a program that is offered by its company called Fringe. And what we do every month is we give a small stipend to the individual that they can use personally, how they choose. We also then, on work anniversaries and birthdays, we give a certain extra Fringe points. But the other thing we do every month is we give each individual on the team, regardless of position, a pool of Fringe points that they have to use in recognizing other team members.
Oh, so I love that.
And it's from use these Fringe points to get a Starbucks coffee, or some people are ordering meal kits or using it for wellness, and recognizing that everybody is in a different place and everybody has different needs and different things excite people. Using this Fringe opportunity as a way of recognition, but then a recognition that can be utilized by the individual who's receiving it in a manner which is meaningful for them. Some individuals use it for grooming their pets. So it is really something that I wasn't sure how it would be received. And now I am so thrilled that we put that in place. And in fact, we're looking at other ways to lever this to really help bring the group together,
Yeah.
And then also a way for us to possibly start changing our benefits packages to be a bit more self-directed versus directed centrally.
More personalized.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's yeah, I mean, of course, when you get it from your leader, from your boss, it's great. But when you get it from your colleague, it's as, or maybe it's at times more valuable. And the fact that you can personalize it. I'm going to look at their site. That I feel like I could recommend that potentially to some of the organizations that I work with as well.
Well, there are a few different programs out there, but this one in
Yeah.
particular, it's been very successful.
That you've been happy with. So another point that you made earlier was, and I think you said it was earlier in your career, not from long, but you've had it with you for a while, was this mindset, let's say philosophy about choosing your attitude. And for leaders, whether you're in a travel and event industry or in, I mean, I don't know any industry that's not been affected in some way or the other, and going through challenges and great resignation, people leaving, lots of hiring. There's just a lot of change that's affecting leaders. So can you talk specifically how someone who's maybe struggling with having a positive attitude right now, challenged with being optimistic and just, feels like, oh gosh, there's another, mountain that I have to climb. What advice do you have for people to choose an attitude that's going to serve them?
Easier said than done, but this is an area, and I think where we are at today, just from everything going on around us, it is so easy to be overwhelmed. It's very easy to get sucked in to negativity and despair.
Negativity. Yeah, I mean, just turn on the news for 2 seconds, right?
Exactly, and I try to stay away from the news, candidly, or selectively choose the news channels. Social networking will suck you in, and it makes the terrible things that are happening so far away so much more real and close to you. And it is so hard to distance yourself. As leaders, our role is to, foster a sense of hope and not fan the flames of despair. And I often find myself going back to one of the very early principles, early days. I won't tell you how many years ago, but early days working, I think this dates back to when I was a corporate management trainee at Hyatt. So it was fairly long ago. Was a book that is written by Dr. Stephen London and with Harry Paul and John Christensen. And it was recently refreshed, but the name of the book is Fish. And it's all premise based on one of the most possibly negative jobs to have is being a fishmonger and cleaning fish, scaling fish. And the story talks about the fish market in the Seattle public market, and that how these fishmongers have taken this, someone could say, nasty job and have turned it into a great experience. It's now a tourist attraction.
Yeah, and, I've seen it. It's I know exactly what you're talking about.
And they pull the customers in. They have fun. Apologies for the background noise there. Yeah. But the premise there is, first and foremost, you choose your attitude. One of the few things we as individuals can do is choose our attitude. We can't choose necessarily the environment in which we're operating or what we get thrust into. We can make a choice on how we actually show up. And then, part of it is, built around this is you have to play, you have to have fun. How do you pull people into that and getting people focused on having fun in what they're doing? How could we have more fun and create more energy to be solving something that is, different? Talking back to choosing your attitude, there's a premise here. You could be impatient, bored, disgusted with what you're doing, or you could say, I want to be world famous. How do I turn what I'm doing into a point that I can be recognized for what I'm doing? Trying to make somebody's day, whether it's that colleague, and back to Fringe, and recognizing and thanking someone in accounting. We have salespeople thanking people in accounting for work that they're doing to help them close the business. And then the last premise around this is also to be there, to be present, and gets back to making sure you're able to at least have some eye contact. You need to be there. You need to be engaged for the individual. You need to be willing to listen. But it really starts with that attitude. I strongly recommend, it's a quick read. It's maybe an hour read tops, but to embrace it. I actually keep that book on my desk just as a reminder that if I see it off the corner of my eye, and if I'm not being positive about something, that's a reminder there that you need to be more positive. You need to approach things with assuming positive intent. You need to be careful because happiness can, be viewed as being Pollyannish. You need that connection.
Right, you need to be real
reality.
and authentic and have, yes, absolutely. Can be
outcome focused, results driven. It's all trying to get to outcomes and focus, but have a good time and be happy as you go forward. Our job is to encourage, and I think you can only encourage if you have that positive attitude. This book also, for parents out there, it's a great way to teach the kids, and talking about they can choose their attitudes. The only thing is when your kids actually turn it in reverse about Dad,
right.
You need to be careful there.
Right.
But that's one of my core principles, and it's something that has served me well. And even more so now with the pace of change that we're experiencing, it is, pace of change now is unlike anything we've ever seen. Today's pace of change, though, is much slower than we're going to see tomorrow. And it'll be very easy to be overcome with that constant change and inertia unless you choose that right attitude in how you show up.
Yeah. So thinking in very practical terms, let's say it's a Tuesday morning and, a person wakes up, and it happens to all of us, where you wake up, you haven't even got out of bed yet, and your brain, we have a negativity bias in our brain, so we have to work extra hard to go the other direction. And you have this sour, negative attitude. What's something that you do to switch to I guess, one thing you do is you actually have a physical reminder. So you have this book Fish on your desk. So for people listening, having physical reminders are really powerful in your environment on how you want to think and how you want to live. But is there anything else that you do or that you practice that helps you stay in the right frame of mind and have the right attitude?
I'm going to give credit to an individual who was on my team when I was at Hyatt. And this is something I embraced because we started all my one-on-ones. I have an extreme bias to action. And at times by immediately jumping in, I don't necessarily take the time or didn't take the time to celebrate success or take a moment to reflect on what I'm grateful for today. So she started every one-on-one with, Jeff, what are you grateful for today? And initially, Tia, it annoyed me.
I appreciate your honesty.
She kept up, and that is something that now I embrace. And when before going to bed at night and waking up in the morning, I reflect on what transpired during the day or what it will transpire and what positive things can come from the day. So trying to start and end your day with that positive moment and just take a moment to be reflective of what worked well. And we as humans, and you mentioned it, when we have a tendency of coming together, we have a tendency of focusing in on what's not working or what went wrong versus what went right. And we need to take the time to focus on what went right, celebrate the wins, be grateful for them, but also then the things that don't go right, take the time to understand why not. And you should celebrate your failures as well, as long as you learn from them.
Right.
So again, it's a bit of a mindset, but I really have found, thanks to this person who beat me into submission, that taking that opportunity to be reflective on what I'm grateful for has helped me immensely.
Yeah, appreciation. I always talk about gratitude practices in my keynote talks, and gratitude, there's neuroplasticity. It actually changes your neural pathways on how you see the world. So I agree, and you should definitely send that person this episode, because she'll be smiling when giving the credit. It's such a simple practice, yet it's easy. It's easy sometimes to just, you're moving so fast, you're checking things off your list, you're taking action, like you said, with your extreme bias, but pausing to reflect on all that you do have with work and your personal life is so, so powerful. So, okay, so my last question, were you gonna say something else?
No, I was just gonna say there's one other book that I keep if I'm really down and I need a pick me up. Actually, there are two, but I'm not going to share the
Okay,
other.
share another one.
But this is another one by Ken Blanchard. It's The Heart of a Leader. And it's just a series of quotes that I'll find myself, occasionally just picking up the book and, just reading. It's a quote by an individual and then a little bit of a reflective moment. And the one that I just turned to is positive thinkers get positive results because they are not afraid of problems. So these are, it's really talking about leadership and ways to look at things. And if I find myself losing focus or, having that hard time of finding that positive, to be positive about something, I'll pick it up and either read it or whack myself across the head with the book. Either one will help.
I haven't read that one before. Have you read the book called The Go-Giver?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's a fable. It's a business book, but it's a fable. It is short. It is one of the best books that I have ever, it's changed the way that I look at business and life. And it's fantastic. So I think just knowing a little bit about you, I think you'd really like that one too.
It's amazing. Those fables, those I find are oftentimes the books that are more helpful as a leader and a quick refresh, using a Stephen Coveyism, if you would, if that is Coveyism. Can you say that? Anyway, sharpening the saw. Yes.
Right. Yeah, it's a really good one with great business principles.
Yeah.
So last question is, what is something that you do while you're not working that supports you in being a happy leader?
Well, I'm always working, so yes, I can't answer that question. And you told me in the that I can't say email is a distraction. So
no, email or sleep cannot be your answer. It has to be something besides those two.
Oh, so we're empty nesters. It's my wife, myself, and our two dogs. So I will often find myself, if I need to disconnect, is to take a nice long walk with the dogs and just to be able to refresh, recharge, leave the phone at home, and trying to find that way to disconnect. So nice long walks. Sometimes it's a bit of a challenge here in Chicago, but I would say that is a way for me to disconnect and clear the mind.
Well, important point, leave your phone. When you're going for a walk, all the leaders listening, leave your phone, go for a walk without it, and it's going to be a lot more restorative. Well, thank you so much for all of the stories and the wisdom. It was definitely jam-packed with lots of great tips and strategies. So thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Tia. I really enjoyed our conversation, and thank you.